It's lovely to see you too. It's great to be here.
Yeah, well, we've known each other so long.
I
was
know.
thinking this, I said, my God, we've known each other for ages.
I know. I prefer to actually talk now in decades rather than in years. Decades sort of sounds shorter.
I wasn't going to talk about it in decades or years, just a long time.
We must have founded our businesses around similar times,
Absolutely right. Because I remember coming to the Fulham Road as you opened that, as it was on the corner of the Fulham
Yes.
Road and
Fowler's Terrace, my first store.
Yeah, I remember absolutely.
Because I remember you, Joe Malone, the White Company, and Amanda Wakeley. We actually all had fairly similar logos because they were all in a square with a double line around them.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. And they were all founded around the same time.
God, it must have been indicative.
Yes, of the moment.
Anyway, here we are, a few years later.
Just a few. Chapters later.
A few chapters later. And your first charm is a heart. And you said, oh, I'm not sure if this is the right symbol. I think it's absolutely, for me, it was the right symbol for you. But I've designed it as a locket, an oval 18-karat gold locket that opens with a lovely three-dimensional heart in pink sapphires, kind of quite dark pink sapphires on it, because I think if they're could be rubies, we could discuss. But I thought if it's a locket, you might put photographs perhaps of people very special to you, and we could put engraved dates in it, and it will become something that means a lot to you.
I love that, and I know I was sort of cautious about putting a heart down because actually I don't love the heart symbol overused in jewelry or fashion, or it just feels a bit
tired.
Yes. Yeah. And so I love the fact that you've put it in an oval. And lockets are really precious. And I think there's something so gorgeous about being able to put a photo and put a date or initials or something like that in there. And I love the fact that you've gone with the...
I should think sapphires, but they could be rubies. They're little pave, lovely pave.
Why did you go into the oval rather than the heart shape?
Because I'm like you, I don't like the heart shape.
I'm really interested. But for me, the heart shape was, the heart is, like you, I'm a very physical person. I love my strength and my fitness, and I really treasure that and really nurture it. And so for me, your beating heart is who you are.
Absolutely.
It's your soul. So that was very much what I was thinking, and also just our warmth and the love that comes through.
But that's come for you. Has that come? I'm dying to know a bit more about your childhood, because you obviously came from a very close family. So just paint us a little picture.
So yes, I had two siblings, two older brothers and me, and I just have a sort of warm, happy blur of my childhood, where we grew up in the country. We went to a little beach cottage in North Wales in Anglesey and for our summer holidays, and it was just a very happy blur of sibling love, conflict, of course, as it is, and just ponies and the sea, and it was uncomplicated.
But it was quite your father was a hugely eminent medical.
My father was a senior surgeon. My grandfather was actually knighted for services to the medical profession, and actually, sort of looking at the heart, he authored a few books, particularly on anatomy, and actually we laugh about it within the family that my love of anatomy led me down a different path.
Was there any expectation that you should go into medical?
None at all. And in fact, I I grew up in an era where, you know, boys were expected to go to university. Girls weren't really that. You know, although I went to a very academic school, the careers
You went to
department.
Cheltenham.
I went to Cheltenham Ladies College, and the careers department was as big as the study. You know, it was sort of, although this was very academic, and you know, the girls either went into, you know, law or medicine or, you know, a profession, or they went off to secretarial school.
Okay, so you didn't go to secretarial school.
I did a personal assistance diploma because my parents insisted that I did something post actually smashing my A levels. But I'd sort of done with education by then. I wanted to go off into the world and be independent and start earning my own money and doing stuff. And I wasn't exactly sure what that stuff would be, but I actually I got that PA course under my belt, and in fact, I'm really glad I did because to this day I touch type. It was a tiny bit of shorthand, which no one can understand. I can, and a little bit of law, just a little bit of accounting, just sort of life skills, really. Tick that box, and then I promptly moved myself straight out to America with a boyfriend at the time because I just wanted a change.
How life's changed. I mean, I look at my children and oh God, it's changed so much. But I'm kind of interested. So just going back to the child, so you obviously were you surrounded by dogs? Because dogs have been
surrounded by dogs. In fact, that was the joke because I was the third child. I was allowed to take my afternoon nap with Bodger, the Labrador, in his basket because it was just, I mean, it was cocooning and heaven. And I think that probably started my absolute love of, you know, I find this is going to sound really bizarre, but the smell of a dog's paws is just so comforting. It's so delicious.
Do you know, that's so weird because one of my 7 charms is a dog paw. And your second charm, I've designed it a bit like mine, which is a 3-dimensional dog paw where, you know, you can put your thumb into it, so it's kind of got an indent, and I've done it all in black diamonds for the. But I thought I was really weird until very recently that I love the smell of it.
I know. I know. Hugh looks at me like, "What are you doing?" I'm just smelling her paws because they smell so good. But I mean, the fragrance world should just be aware of it because it's sort of, I don't know, it's like those, you know, those sort of childhood smells of vanilla and baby powder and all of those gorgeous things. That, I know it sounds so weird, but thank God you agree with me.
So agree. Now on to your next charm, which you're probably quite surprised to see because I know you said you wanted to be a darning needle. And I thought, I think that could be a bit of a weapon, a bit aggressive to as a piece of jewellery. So I haven't done it as a darning needle, in case you're wondering. I've done it as a little cotton reel or bobbin. I think it's a really cotton reel.
It is.
It's a cotton reel, and it's absolutely a miniature version of a cotton reel. I've done the actual reel itself in 18-karat gold. And then the tops are just edged in little white pave diamonds. And I've done just white cotton in white gold wire wound all the way through. And you can see I've put a yellow gold, smaller than a darning needle, stuck into the as you do, stuck into the cotton so that it's ready there for the next time you come to use it. So obviously, the cotton reel or the darning needle is, I'm assuming, to represent your.
Do you know what I love too? Is you've put a little chain.
But that's a piece of cotton.
Is it?
Yes, that's a piece of cotton that's come.
But is that chain?
It's chain.
Oh, yes. I love it. Yes. Because
out of the eye of the needle.
You probably don't know this, but I've always used a lot of chain in my embellishments, in my embroideries, because it sparkles and it moves and it's really, I just love the way chain moves. So I would use it as not gold, but gold coloured
Yeah.
as chain fringing or as part of, get it sort of sewn into embellishments so that you get that lovely sparkle. So I love that reference too. But yes, sewing has always been part of my life. I mean, even as a small child, I made things.
What started it? Any idea what started it?
I have no idea what actually started it, but we had a fantastic dressing up box as children because I had two very glamorous grandmothers, both of whom travel quite a bit. So they'd come back from, um, Ceylon, as it was then known,
Yes.
Sri Lanka
Yes.
now, with beautiful saris, and they would get thrown into the dressing up box, and just gorgeous bits and bobs. And my mother was incredibly tolerant about me carving into this exquisite embroidered 5 meter turquoise sari and making a trouser suit. And just let me do it, which, I mean, it was a beautiful silk
Was it
sari.
for you?
It was for me, yes.
Or maybe it was for her.
No, I'm ashamed to say it was for me. But it was lovely because I had, how saris, you've got the lovely, I don't know what they call it, but there's the end bit that they do the little,
Finish it.
yeah, and they do the little tops out of.
Yes.
And so, I did my little camisole in the sort of very gold embroidered bit. And then I placed all the borders on the edge of the pants, the borders on the edge of the sort of the sleeves. It was a work of art, and I don't know where it came from, but I just wanted to do it.
But did you do that by eye? You weren't. There was no pattern. You were just.
These were the days of Vogue patterns.
Yeah, no, so that's
So you could go and you could go through these giant books in John Lewis or
Yeah.
Peter Jones, and you could select your pattern. And those Vogue patterns really sort of lit a flame in me. And then I started to customize my Vogue patterns
Yeah.
and alter things and tie-dye things. And it was a lovely journey of discovery.
Going back to kind of leaving school and doing your little PA course, you then went to New York, you said.
I went to Florida first, just
Right.
because I was so sick of the British weather.
Yeah.
And I just wanted the freedom of living close to the sea, because the sea's always been important to me. That was another thing I realised as I submitted these charms. I didn't mention the sea, but I could have gone on and on and on. And so I had this lovely hedonistic existence, really, of just working to pay the bills and for happy hour in the evening on the beach, and then I fell into modelling down there.
So were you spotted?
I sort of,
Yeah,
yes, and
yeah.
then that took me up to New York, and it was a whole new chapter.
So just tell me a bit about that. So how was that a fun chapter? Because
New
obviously
York-
we're in this world of
Oh my God, New York
Yeah.
in the early '80s was unbelievable. It was pretty edgy, I have to say. It was quite dangerous.
Yes.
Because that was when it was in its really sort of gritty time.
Yeah.
But I was modelling, and you just sort of get pretty street savvy. You have to be on the subway 10, 14 times a day to go run between different castings, and you just sort of get on with it.
But when they say no, maybe they said yes more than they said no.
No,
but
there's
how
a
did
lot
that-
of rejection.
But how do you deal with that?
Well, I think it's a great lesson in life. I think, yeah, I really do. And that you can't take it personally. Otherwise, you'll destroy yourself in seconds. And
It's hard though to do that when you're young.
Yes, but I mean, I suppose it was a different era. I suppose we were perhaps less in touch with being super sensitive,
Right.
like a lot of the young are today. And that's not a criticism, it's an observation. And it was very much a generation where we just got up and did it. If we felt like we had a hangover or a headache, we actually just took a painkiller and just got on with it.
Well, no social media, I guess that changed
Yes,
a lot.
it changed a lot. And so, yes, I grew up in a way of you just get on with it.
Yeah.
I suppose growing up in a medical household, actually, it's it's like
Actually, yeah.
you get zero unless there's serious blood. You get zero attention.
And also a lot of boys around, I guess.
Yes.
So that was quite.
Yeah, you sort of muddle through.
So being street savvy. So at what point did you think, right, enough of this? Now I'm going to come back and. I'm like, what's the transition there?
The transition was I decided that it would be a good idea to marry an American who was a lot older than me.
I remember meeting him.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I do.
And that what I didn't realise is that he thought this would be a great way of him moving to London. And so, anyhow, cut a long story short, we moved to London, and marriage didn't last that long.
So moved back to London, and then married, didn't work out.
Then he decided we ought to move back to New York after the crash.
Yeah.
Because he was a broker, and I moved back briefly, and I just thought, do you know what? Actually, I'm a Brit. Get back to London. I was sort of wanting to be back at home.
Yeah.
In home country
no,
at least.
I totally get that.
And I'd spent a couple of years getting into London. It had taken me 18 months to actually even like it, because I loved everything about New York City, and then by the time I'd sort of got to like it and sort of established myself a little bit, it was off again. I thought, no, this isn't working. This isn't right, and so moved back, and that's when I just started in a very, very tiny way in that tiny little studio in Chelsea.
But you say tiny little studio in Chelsea, but for anybody listening and wanting to start their own fashion brand, or or even their own business, you don't just start and get a little studio in Chelsea. There's obviously a bit of thought behind that. You must have done a collection. You must and how did you fund that?
Well, interesting, because I was helped by my parents with a small business loan, and I bought a tiny, tiny little flat that actually, quite cleverly, now I think back to it, had its own front door, and it looked like it was the whole building, and it was in the dog end of Chelsea, but it had a great feel about it. It was sort of raised ground floor and lovely little porch and all the rest of it. Nobody would know that sort of behind the baize doors, as it were, two tiny bedrooms, one of which I lived in and the other was my workroom. My sitting room was my showroom, which at night I would, have dinners in or whatever, but surrounded by clothes.
So it's absolutely, kind of, you were living, breathing,
absolutely,
everything.
And I was working crazy hours.
No, it's so interesting to hear, because no one ever hears that about you, because they just think, oh, Amanda Wakeley just turned up.
No, so
Princess Diana arrives and everything's marvellous.
No. I was working like a dog, and no regrets. It was easy. I could sit at my sewing machine until midnight and then fall into my bed next door, literally 3 steps away, and start again at 6 the next morning.
So you were actually making the clothes yourself at that point?
Yeah, I was.
And then what happened?
Then you grow, and and outworkers, and then I took on an employee who would help pattern cut, fit, all of that.
Right.
It was literally back-to-back appointments through the day, cutting, sending out to outworkers, all the rest of it in the evening. It was a sort of fun, mad, the sort of thing you do when you're young and you've got endless energy.
Of course.
And I've got very happy memories of all of that.
And was your big break Princess Diana coming? Did that change it?
Yes, I would say that was my.
And how did she come?
Through a mutual friend. I don't know if you remember Anna Harvey, who was the deputy editor of Vogue at the time, who was helping Diana with her fashion, with her clothes, and she said to me, "I am going to introduce you to Diana because I think you two would really get on, and I think your style is really right for her." And rest in peace, Anna. Thank you. But it was really brilliant.
Brilliant.
Really
And
brilliant.
did you? Was it a real friendship there?
It was really warm. It
Yeah.
was I wouldn't say it was a real friendship. We
Right.
didn't go out and meet for coffees
No,
or
okay.
all of that. But
Yeah.
whenever I bumped into her at the gym, she was incredibly warm. All the fittings and the appointments were just fun and
yeah.
happy, and we'd have a lot of laughs.
Yeah. Well, how wonderful.
Yeah.
To be dressing the
And
most
then,
photographed woman in the world. I
and
mean,
yes, I
I
know.
mean,
And then
extraordinary.
what I didn't realise about sort of after that, I then opened my first store on the Fulham Road, the one
Yep.
that you were talking about.
Yes.
And literally that first collection, I had made her a couple of suits, and she happened to resign from public life wearing Amanda Wakeley. And this was sort of before the time that people were credited in the press for what they were wearing. And I know it seems strange
Does
now because,
now, yeah.
you know, you go to Wimbledon and people talk about what people are wearing, or, you know, it's always credited Anushka wearing whatever,
Still.
whatever. But back then it wasn't. And I was just really, really lucky. I have no idea how that happened, but it was sort of front page of the Daily Mail. Princess Diana resigns from public life wearing Amanda Wakeley. And I mean, that is a proper guardian angel.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I mean, just
proper.
absolutely.
And we sold out of that suit sort of within 24 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, this is before the internet. So people had to come to the store to buy the suit. And they were buying, you know, 3 sizes too big because they wanted the Diana suit. Yeah. Sold out. You know, it was early days. I didn't have depth of stock, but sort of reran it, obviously.
Obviously, forever.
And then she did another fantastic thing for me was she gave that interview where that speech where she said, and I suppose you're all surprised to see me today. You'd think that I would be at home with my head down the loo. Do you remember that bulimia moment?
Yeah,
and she was wearing Wakeley again for that. And so suddenly, and they were quite similar suits in different colours. They were from the same collection. And so suddenly that really put me on the map. That in line.
Vaguely, what year are we? Because I actually can't remember when that was.
93.
Okay,
90,
so early.
90,
So,
yes.
so really
93,
fantastic in terms
93,
of
94 even, but really early days for me.
Your next charm is, I love this. This is a phoenix, which is often associated with transformation, resilience, overcoming adversity, emerging stronger, and all of the things which I think absolutely you have done. And it's the most divine charm. So I've put this into a circular frame, and the phoenix is the bird with its wings up, and as it's coming out of the ashes, and it spins inside the frame.
God, how lovely.
So its wings are kind of perfectly textured, exactly as you'd expect the phoenix to be. I've put a little red, orange sapphire, because there's something about that kind of coming out of the ashes I kind of rather love, which is why I've used the orange. And little red garnet cabochons on the each kind of section of the frame. I'm doing a terribly bad job of describing this.
Oh, it's
absolutely because it's quite a tricky one.
It's gorgeous, I have to say. I mean, when you first handed me the sheet of the sketches, it's the one that just went bam.
It's such a. I thought what a wonderful charm to choose, because it hasn't always been plain sailing.
No.
No, do you know what? Because I think the world thinks, no, because I think if you asked anybody, I said someday I'm seeing Amanda Wakeley, oh, amazing, she's extraordinary, all of those things, but I think it all appears absolutely perfect. And it hasn't been perfect. And I quite want to hear a little bit about the difficulties, because we know how amazing and what a wonderful collection and wonderful brand that you've had for so long. But where have the difficulties been?
Oh my goodness. Ask anyone in fashion where the difficulties have been, and they will tell you just reams of difficulties. It's a really, really complex industry. And I always say it's one of those industries that has just so many moving parts that the chances of getting them all aligned and at the right time, at the right place, it's like playing Russian roulette. It's a horrible industry in that sense that it's just got so many moving parts. I love so much about it. But yes, you're right. There have been ups and downs and the wrong choice of business partners and all of that. But I'm an incredibly positive person.
I know you.
And I always have this theory that whatever doesn't get you makes you stronger. And, you know, you stay fit and strong and you stay focused. And then life is a journey. I know it's a really hackneyed phrase, but it is. And then new chapters emerge out of it. And, you know, I think about it. And in fact, I you know, when I was putting down my symbols, I thought, gosh, I do remember being presented the Phoenix Award at the Every Woman Awards, and that being really special and making me think, gosh, you know, maybe there is some truth in that. And, you know, you just progress onto a new chapter, and it's a blessing.
No, I can totally see that. We'll talk about some of those new chapters in a minute. But what were the biggest, what were your biggest kind of challenges? Choosing the wrong partner?
Definitely, you know, having a business partner that really did the dirty on me.
So that was in 2009, was
yes,
it? Yeah.
Yes, and end of 2008. But so that was then, you know, then.
And at that point, you had to go and get more new finance.
At that point, that's when Hugh Morrison, my partner in life, became my business partner, and really, I mean, absolute knight in shining armor, because it was a very, very complicated situation.
Yes.
And so, so I had that, but you know, that's just sort of feels like 3 chapters ago now.
No, well, I mean, it obviously was 3 chapters ago, but it's still, as you say, that's what forms you going forward, isn't it? The strength of having to go through the difficulties.
And then you use it as a catalyst, and you think, okay, where had I gone wrong? How can I improve on that? How can I actually shrink things back to be more sensible? And it's very interesting talking to entrepreneurs at the moment, how they're really re-looking at their businesses and simplifying them. And it's like, hallelujah. It feels like a bit of a rebirth for a lot of people right now, in a very positive way. That, you know, everything had got very big, complicated. Yes, thank you. And actually, let's pare things back a little bit, and simplify supply chains. You know, make things a little bit more carbon neutral. You know, just be a little bit more mindful about how things are produced and how much do we need.
Yes. I think everybody's thinking that. Exactly.
Yes. So that was one chapter, and then obviously COVID. You know, we took in private equity. We went on a journey with them, and then COVID hit, and they had fiscal responsibilities, and so that was the reason that Wakeley was put into administration, which at the time was tough.
Agony.
It was tough. I mean, I at the same time, one of my brothers died of a brain tumor, so that was really sort of complicated. It was sort of layers of complication, and I sort of stood away from it all and thought, do you know what? I've worked my arse off for 30 years. I just need a moment to reflect. And, you know, I sort of, you know, you think about, we're all living much longer lives, hopefully. Sadly, my brother didn't. And, you know, when you think back to our parents' generation, it wasn't unusual for people to take a sabbatical.
No,
to go and reflect or just do other stuff. And so in a way, I looked at that sort of following year as a bit of a sabbatical, just a moment to
Take stock. Yeah.
to breathe, to think, do I want to do this all again? Actually, no, I don't. Not in this climate.
Just on that, actually, because I think it is, it's, God, I've got my own business, and so I kind of really empathise with you having to close yours. But was there a moment after you'd closed it? It was a bit of a relief.
Oh, completely and utterly. And looking at sort of ex-competitors and, and the retail climate, and actually really empathising with them, because it's complicated out there. It really, really is. And yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more.
And I think, I mean, I'm obviously I'm fascinated by this, but putting your name over the door all of those years ago was quite a thing. It's quite a thing. So my kind of why I'm asking that is because Amanda Wakeley had to turn up for, they don't want somebody else, they want you.
Yeah.
So that's why I said, is it a kind of relief that in a way your life's back in your hands?
Yeah, it is, but I'm still Amanda Wakeley, and so when you turn up to things, I went to a leather exhibition yesterday because for a new project that I'm working on, and I went sort of very low key. I didn't even really have a business card. I just wanted to look at what was developments, get some references, and go. And when people sort of write your name down, they went, "Oh, you're Amanda Wakeley," or the Italians sort of say, "But you're a big celebrity," and it's like, "Oh no, I just want some leather references." Let me go.
I know.
So, and interestingly, you've done it the other way round. You started out with links, and then you.
But very specifically, because the Links of London, I didn't want my name on the door. And I very specifically haven't got my Anushka Dukas on the door.
Yes.
So, but it's a kind of marginal thing.
It is marginal.
But it's interesting. I just wondered anyway if there is a slight sense of relief along with the disappointment and sadness.
Do you know what? I think where I'm at right now is I've had 30 years of brand building, building up phenomenal experience, knowledge, and now it's about optimizing that and using that knowledge to go into this next chapter. And so, yes, I've got my podcast because I've founded the business on this belief of wanting women to feel amazing, how do clothes make us feel. It's really the psychology behind it. And so hence my Style DNA podcast,
which is just fantastic.
I
love your podcast.
Get you on. But it's about discovering the lives behind the looks, and it's fun and fascinating, and I love the whole process of delving into what makes someone tick sartorially. So I've got that, but I've now am finding that people are really knocking on the door saying, will you do a license for this? Would you collaborate on that? And that's really exciting. Because for a moment, after the doors closed for Amanda Wakeley, I was just like, I am so done. I don't ever want... It almost traumatized me, when my nephew would very sweetly say to me, well, why don't you do a cashmere line? It's like, no. Because the idea of stock and production and and distribution and people, yes, and all of that was almost semi-traumatizing. But now I look at it and I think, there's so much I can bring to the table.
Your next charm is a feather, and I mean, a feather would make such a beautiful piece of jewelry. I think feathers in jewelry are just beautiful, and I've done it. I thought, well, it could be lots of different feathers, but actually, so it's just a feather on a long feather bone, and articulated. What are they called? They're called
Fronds.
That's the thing. Thank you. Frongs. And so they are articulated. They all move individually,
Oh, how gorgeous.
and it's yellow gold with little white gold frongs, and then blue sapphires and emerald sapphires on the end. And I think it would be absolutely divine. But why a feather?
Why a feather? It's a good question. By the way, I love that. I love it almost as much as the phoenix. I love sapphire and emerald colours together. I think it's just glorious, and I love things that are articulated, jewellery that's articulated. So because the way it moves and catches the light. So feathers to me, lots of different reasons actually. My father absolutely loved birds, and he also loved photography, and so that has sort of many happy connotations to me. And he had a beautiful book by Franz Lanting, who was a wildlife photographer, that I just absolutely adored, and it really inspired me in my prints to use this sort of macro photography of nature and the colour palettes in nature to create these prints. And so I've always been fascinated by just how unbelievably exquisite nature is.
There's nothing more perfect than that.
There's nothing more perfect than nature. Whether it's feathers or the wings of a butterfly or a moth, in macro photography, it is unbelievable. So feathers to me are that, but they're also significant of birdsong to me. And in the final months of my brother's life, he got obsessed because he had a brain tumour, and so it affects you in different ways. But he did get obsessed with birdsong, and I just have so many charming memories of him going, shh, shh, listen to that bird, and it'd be completely silent, and then you'd hear this beautiful bit of birdsong, and so
which you hadn't noticed,
which I hadn't noticed, and we had a magical morning walk around Exbury Gardens. This lovely friend of ours, Mary Louise Aegis, who's the great-granddaughter of the founder of Exbury Gardens, and it's just the most exquisite place in the New Forest. And she walked us around, and he was either just enraptured by the flowers or listening to the birdsong. And so that's one of my happiest late memories of being with him.
But Amanda, having had, you talked about your brother, and I mean, those two things to happen in very short succession like that. How do you manage to get over all of those things?
It's an interesting question that I did feel like a rabbit in the headlights, and I connected with a woman I've known for many, many, many years, in fact, who used to come to Diana's appointments with her, this incredible woman, Julia Samuel. And
who's been on my podcast.
She's like the goddess of grief. And I had a few sessions with her, and I have to say, and I'm not a big therapy girl, but my God, she was a sanity saver to me, and she helped sort of unpick my feelings about my brother, my business, just peeled the layers off the onion in a very sane way that made me think, oh, I'm not going mad. This is completely normal, and it's fine. It's fine to cry. It's fine to feel shocked. It's fine to feel numb. It's fine to feel all those things that felt so foreign to me. And so, yes.
That's so interesting.
She's an absolute genius. She's an extraordinary woman, and I do find myself saying to people who have been through trauma or grief, just talk to someone about it. You're not going mad, and it really does. It sort of speeds up the healing process. There's no, you can't turbocharge it, but it certainly helped me process it.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting because it's hard to imagine how you kind of get over some.
I don't think you ever get over it.
No.
I think you change and you learn how to live with it and how.
Yeah, how can sit.
And
with
then you learn to take the blessings from it. I mean, there were so many silver linings about both Charlie's demise and the not being in business anymore. You know, it's so many silver linings that you just have to take the positives out of it.
Yeah, which brings me quite neatly onto your next charm, which is a snowflake.
Oof.
And I mean, as you say, no snowflakes are the same. And
isn't that extraordinary?
It is extraordinary.
I still cannot wrap my head around the fact that of all these gazillions of snowflakes that fall every year, they're all different.
No,
I mean, how magical
absolutely.
is that?
So in the charm, I've actually used a piece of white quartz, but as the centre, because it has this kind of feeling of frost, and every single bit of white quartz will be very different, and some will have inclusions, etc. So I thought that would be a really lovely way to replicate that kind of feeling of snowflakes not being the same. And then all the little kind of what do we describe those? They're kind of
they're little crystals.
Crystals, thank you. They're all got tiny little pave diamonds, white gold, as gorgeous on the back as it is on the front. And that's how I've done it.
How beautiful. I can really visualize that, really three-dimensional. And yes, just that lovely magic of a snowflake.
But so I know you're a big skier.
As are you.
Yes,
I've
but
seen pictures of you on Instagram.
Yes, but so what I was really going to say is did that help? I mean, spending time with Julia, that's obviously helped a lot. But skiing, has that always been something that you've done?
I think for me, the healing power of being in nature cannot be underestimated. I think that getting outside in the morning and feeling the elements on your skin, on your face, whether it's rain or sun or mist or whatever it is, I think it's really, really important. And so, yes, the healing power of nature was fundamental to me. And yes, lucky enough to just actually spend a bit more time in the mountains with my puppy. Hugh came and went for weekends, and then I would spend just a few days really sort of in my own little retreat and just with my own little routine of reading, writing, just being very quiet
on your own,
on my own. And
the joy of
then
being on your own,
putting some skins on and skinning up the mountain for a couple of hours with my little dog. And
so most people don't know what skinning up the mountain means, because
so
it could be sounding very dodgy.
I know, so it does. I didn't skinny dip up the mountain. So skinning is this, which I'm sure you do too, but this process of putting what were old-fashioned seal skins on the bottom of your skis. They're now some synthetic, but it means that the ski will grip the mountain as you walk up.
Yeah.
And then you've got those specific bindings that allow the back of your foot to rise as you push up the mountain. It's like being on a cross trainer climbing up a mountain.
But basically, really, it's for those people that don't know, it is walking up the mountain as opposed to taking a lift.
Exactly.
Skiing
exactly.
down.
And so you zigzag rhythmically up the mountain, and it is meditative. It is phenomenal exercise, but incredibly meditative. And I love just skinning up through the trees and, yes, spotting squirrels and seeing my dog play in the snow, just joyful, completely and utterly joyful, having time to think or having time to listen to podcasts.
I was going to say, do you
And
listen or
I do, and I love it, and it's just fascinating to see how different people do their podcasts, and also it's just great for gaining knowledge.
Yeah, no, absolutely, but otherwise it would be, well, you have to have time to read a book.
Yeah,
that's fantastic,
yeah,
isn't it?
No,
although I heard a podcast the other day where it was all about memory, and what they're saying is that actually you really do have to read a book to make your memory work better.
That's interesting.
That is quite interesting.
And it also, I mean, like for audiobooks, which I do quite enjoy too.
Yeah.
But there are a couple of, there's one narrator in particular, fascinating book, Homo Deus. The narrator puts me to sleep within 15 minutes. If I need to get to sleep, just plug Homo Deus.
That's hilarious. But more importantly, now look, I know you've done this extraordinary trip to the Antarctic. So, so just talk me through. You wrote a fantastic piece on how to spend it.
Thank you.
I loved seeing
Thank you.
that. But anyway, it hasn't made me longing to go to the Antarctic. But can you just tell me about this extraordinary journey?
It was an extraordinary journey. We were in Switzerland in the summer a couple of years ago, and great friends of ours were there, and we just happened to see them, which is unusual. And they said, we've just booked this extraordinary trip to go ski mountaineering in Antarctica. You guys should book and come. And we just looked at each other and thought, do you know what? We've always wanted to go to Antarctica, but the chance of being in it and climbing, and did you know it is the highest continent on the planet?
No.
It's extraordinary, hilly, mountainous. And so, yes, we signed up for this, and then I thought, these people are all so unbelievably fit. I'm going to have to get really, really, really fit. And anyhow, long story short, we went down on this ship 2 days across the Southern Ocean.
So true Drake's Passage?
Yes.
I mean, that's the roughest water in the world.
It is.
So how was that?
Absolutely right. It was really rough.
Was it?
Really rough. But, we spent a lot of time on boats, or our boats. So,
yeah.
For me, I find it quite sort of, and I go into quite a deep embryonic slumber in big seas.
Yeah.
I find it hard to stay awake, actually.
Yeah.
It's
lucky
weird.
you.
It's weird. Anyhow, they get there, and it is otherworldly. It is talk about just snow everywhere. Icebergs, the water. I mean, in terms of jewel colours, the shades of blue are extraordinary, and it's so pure. Everything is so pure, and the nature is so captivating. I mean, one afternoon, I'd done a huge climb in the morning, and I was done. And the captain came on the tannoy at lunchtime and said, well, for those of you who would rather go and visit this Gentoo penguin colony, there's a trip there. And I thought, do you know what, that's exactly what and I spent 2 of the most magical hours of my life surrounded by these little fearless creatures who waddle around in a very purposeful but surprised manner, just all around you. And I mean, they just don't even see you. You could be a rock. And it's just delightful. So yes, the whole thing was a magical adventure.
So, hang on a minute. It's all very well talking about that, but was it terrifying? The skiing bit.
The skiing. You're on glaciers.
Yeah.
You don't skin up anything without being roped up.
Yeah.
To the guide, to 3 other people.
Yeah.
They take the safety aspect very, very seriously.
Yeah.
We got back, and then we heard that 2 people on another trip had actually perished because their Zodiac had been flipped by a glacier calving, which is literally a big chunk of it falling into the sea, which creates a tidal wave, which flipped the Zodiac. And you go into -2.
That's it. It's the cold water that did it.
Yeah.
But was the ski? I mean, because you're much fitter than me, and the idea of walking. How many hours up?
I think the longest climb we did was probably nearly 3 hours, but that was the longest single climb. We did lots of other slightly shorter climbs and then skied down and then climbed again. You know, you're up and down and around and about, and they move the ship every night while you're asleep. They move it to a different area. I mean, it's really cleverly done by passionate
Yes.
skiers,
Yeah.
mountaineers, conservationists. The lectures were amazing.
Oh, so you lots of lectures on the boat.
Yes.
So trip of a lifetime.
Trip of a lifetime.
Yeah.
I had intended to sort of keep my journal while I was on the boat, but you're so busy. So I came back and I sort of spent a couple of days writing it up, and I actually found myself missing that place viscerally. It sinks into your soul. It's extraordinary.
But what an amazing,
Yes,
what an
do it.
absolute amazing
Do
experience.
it.
I don't know if I'm as ballsy as you.
Well,
I don't know.
But get down there. It's an incredible place. I mean, you know, the one thing I'll say is, you know, there were 100 ski mountaineers on the ship, and 26 of the world's best ski guides, and they take the safety so seriously, and they pace it according to your group and
Yes.
all the rest.
But
of it.
I'm assuming you have to be at a certain level. You can't go as a beginner.
You don't want to go as a beginner,
No, you
because
you
because
definitely don't.
you don't go for the skiing. You go because at 1 minute it can be spring skiing, at the next it can be just filthy crud, and the next we were in, you know,
Deep powder.
deep powder,
Yeah.
fresh deep. You
Yeah.
know, one morning we woke up, pulled the curtains back, and there was sort of a foot of powder on the decks.
So I bet you were like, come on,
Oh, it was
everybody, let's go.
extraordinary, yes.
Anyway, your last charm, I presume you saw a lot of sun. Your last charm is a sun. I presume that you've seen lots of sun in the Antarctic, but this sun, well, you know by now, I love everything to move. I like all my charms to move, and so this is. It's kind of three-dimensional, but quite flat, so kind of two-dimensional, and yellow gold. I had to make him smile because the sun, that makes us all feel happy and warm. So I've engraved a little smiley mouth, and his eyes, a little orange sapphires. And then on each of the rays, they're little pavé set graded colour, orange to yellow sapphires. And again, on the back, it's just polished gold. And because I think it'd be nice to have some kind of engraving, whatever that means to you. But why a sun?
But it always has had a very good feel-good factor. It's warmth, it's light, it's
Life.
joy, it's
Life, isn't
it's
it?
life-giving.
Yeah.
You know, if you think of everything in nature, everything in life needs sun, and it makes me smile. And I think I do think the whole smiling thing is just so important. I don't think we smile enough, and I don't think we smile enough at strangers either. And I was reflecting on this as I was writing up my sort of thoughts on this, and I just think the power of a smile is so important. And you know, it was interesting listening to my eulogies for my brother, and just knowing how much he impacted on people's lives by little kindnesses, just by inquiring how they were and really meaning it. And it's just, I took from that, do you know what? We need more of that in life. I want to be doing more of that. Just, you know, going...
Small acts of kindness.
Small acts of kindness. Saying to the street sweeper in the morning as I jog past with my dog, good morning, how are you? And meaning it.
Yeah, no, that's...
And knowing that you can... I had a lovely incident the other day. I was literally just filled up my car with petrol, and I handed my card to the person at the till, and I said, how are you? And his face lit up, and he started telling me this very funny story about his love life. And I thought, you'll never ask that question.
No.
And he genuinely loved telling me the answer. And I thought, that's taken me 30 seconds, but it was a really precious exchange. It lit up my day as well as I know it lit up his day. So it was
so
it was really
important.
charming. And I just thought, do you know what, there's a real lesson there.
Yeah, but just talking about that, it makes me think, the fashion industry, I never think it is very kind. I always think, is it? Because you can answer, because is it the devil wears Prada? Because it's absolutely, I don't think I could have ever gone into it.
I
that.
think there are different pockets. I think fundamentally it's a very, very competitive. It's not I didn't find it a particularly warm industry. I got my warmth from my customers, and I loved that. I mean, there was nothing better than seeing a woman come out of a changing room wearing something, and you know, her shoulders were back and her bosoms were out a little bit more, and you know, you could just
stand tall.
Yes, she was owning it and feeling really happy in her skin. And you know, seeing someone transformed is a really happy process.
It's such a wonderful thing, isn't it? Because I don't think people don't think of fashion like that anymore. I think people think of fashion as trend, or do I look right, or cool, but they're not. They don't understand that it's all about confidence.
It is.
Isn't it? It's just about.
It's how we feel.
So that's what you were so brilliant at. Is I've got lots of your clothes, and I know it just makes me feel really, really good. And
well, hallelujah! That makes me smile.
Amanda, what's the next chapter? Because obviously the podcast is absolutely. I think you've had 600,000 downloads or something.
Yeah, I mean, it has really, really.
Because it's not. It's only how many months?
I've only done 2 seasons.
I mean, it's incredible.
Yes. So starting to record season 3.
Exciting.
And loving that whole process of actually really delving into someone's life and the research behind it. I absolutely love, and sharing that. And I think from the feedback I've got, people are really loving picking up little nuggets and tips and just understanding people, my guests, their lives better. So that's hugely rewarding. And then we own the IP and the brand. So yes, which is fantastic. Thanks to Hugh, because it was a very complicated process. So now I've got several projects that are
so that's
brewing.
That's so exciting.
Which is really, really exciting.
Back to the Phoenix.
Am I going back into creating my own brand or recreating? Absolutely not. Is there potential for more Amanda Wakeley product? Absolutely. And that's as much as I can say right now.
Okay, I totally respect that. I've one other thing I'm sure everyone would like to know. What happened to the clothes that were in existence?
They got sold off.
But can you go and rent them?
You can guess. You can.
Yeah, there you go.
Which I love, actually, is my Wardrobe HQ have a really good selection. I've recently actually done quite a big archive sale, and I'm going to do another one in the autumn.
Oh, let me know.
And because I still I write sort of probably bi-weekly newsletters, which you can sign up to. info@amandawakeley.com, and we'll add you on to the sort of mailing list, and so stay in touch with followers that way. And yes, I was amazed by the appetite when I literally put it sort of as a sort of sign off at the end of a newsletter saying I'm doing an archive, email info@Amanda Wakeley, and I woke up the next day and it was just like dozens and dozens and dozens. I mean, probably 150 requests for the line sheet of these pieces which was so heartwarming. But then you sort of think, okay, it's me, myself, and I. So, but actually, I've loved getting back to basics and really owning everything, and now sort of building that back out again.
But there's a whole, isn't it interesting that we've all got to this particular chapter, and there's a whole new world out there that's
absolutely
kind of
and I think when I think back to sort of our parents' generation would probably be thinking about their retirement at our age. So not. I mean, I've still got so much that I want to do.
But there's a balance, isn't it? But that'll give this opportunity gives you the chance to keep the balance right.
Yes, and
Yes.
actually only do things that I really, really want to do.
Yeah.
And yes, it's a wonderful opportunity, I have to say.
Well, I'm so excited to see what the next chapter is. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now,
What a pleasure.
one more thing. So, as a thank you for coming to chatting to me today, I'd like to make you one of those charms.
Oh my goodness.
So I wonder which one it is, because
That is incredibly generous. And do you know which one it's going to be?
Well, I think I do, but you tell me which one it is.
I think it has to be the Phoenix.
I thought it'd be the Phoenix.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Did
yeah.
you?
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
I'm
really thrilled. I'm thrilled.
The way you have sketched that up and the meaning of it, and also I love the is it a sapphire in the middle?
Yes.
Red sapphire
Yeah,
or pink
it's an
sapphire?
orange. It's an orange sapphire.
But it's almost
to
like
represent the
that's sort of-
embers.
yes.
Yes.
And also the beating heart too. To me, I see it as sort of yes, the embers, but also it's still a beating heart.
Yeah. So would you prefer it was not orange? Would you prefer it was a ruby? What would you?
Gosh,
what would
do
you
you
like
know
it
what?
to
I
be?
would love that actually.
To be a ruby.
Oh, but now you've got me thinking. The
Because-
embers are also beautiful too.
No, you.
I think it's got to be a ruby,
a
hasn't
ruby.
it?
For a ruby, yeah, because then actually that incorporates the first charm, which is all about
Yes,
the
the
heart.
heart.
Yeah.
Oh, how gorgeous! How
Okay, well, I
gorgeous!
shall really
But
look
can I
forward
just
to it.
say, you showing me how you package up these My Life in 7 Charms is the most exquisite approach to creating charms. And when I grew up, my mother had a beautiful gold charm bracelet, and it's still one of my possessions that I absolutely love, because each charm had so much meaning that my father gave her, or my uncle, her brother gave her a stork when one of her children were born. And it's just sort of, it's a lovely, lovely thing.
It
a
is
charm.
such a lovely thing. But I think what's nice is, do you wear it? Or because it's quite impractical now, charm bracelets. So all mine come off so that you can wear them individually.
It
on a
is
necklace or-
super impractical. I borrowed it from my mother a while back because I was doing a sort of fashion project around charms, and then I gave it back to her, so it's still in her possession. But yes, I do. I love the idea. Well, as you can see,
Well, I
I've
can
got
see,
bits
you
and bobs on me today,
where's
which
your
I hope
jewellery?
I haven't been rattling, including one of your lovely diamond
Initials,
A's. I
yes,
love
I
it.
know.
So I love charms around my neck because
Yes, yeah.
it does sort of. I don't think it's practical, especially with the way we live and work
Yeah.
and tap on
Yeah.
keyboards and all the rest of it.
Yeah. Well, look how stylish you look in all of this. Beautiful jewellery, and I'm very pleased to see some of mine, so that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me as a guest. What a lovely journey to go on with you. Very nostalgic.
Oh, good. Well, it's fascinating for me. It's absolutely fab. Thank you.